Alright, here we go. Hello my fellow friendsets, it's Chris from Shughead Gaming, and I'm bringing you my review for Population 1, developed and published by Big Box VR and releasing on the Oculus Store for the Quest, Quest 2, and Rift S with cross-buy, as well as Steam for the other headsets. A PSVR version is planned, but no date has been mentioned. Population 1 releases October 22nd for an estimated price of $30. Of course, that depends on your region. Population 1 looks to redefine what a battle royale game can be in VR, offering unparalleled freedom of movement and Fortnite-like building mechanics. 18 players in squads of 3 face off in a large open battlefield, offering endless combat possibilities. This could be one of the biggest VR moves to draw in the mainstream gaming crowd, but does it bring enough polish and depth to compete with the biggest battle royale games in traditional gaming? Keep it here while I tear it down and find out. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It not only helps out the channel, but VR gaming as a whole. And if you'd like to see more VR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, you know the deal, hit that bell icon. In addition, Shughead Gaming is on Discord, and well on its way to creating a fun and positive place where VR gamers can come to get VR news, chat, and find others to game with. Let's kick things off with a look at graphics. The weather is always fantastic, and the sun always out in the world of Population 1. With its vivid color palette and visual style somewhere between PUBG and Fortnite, Population 1 goes for an almost hyper-real and joyful look that comfortably straddles a visual compromise that is hard to clearly define. Truthfully, I found the game's overall look a bit on the generic side, with characters and world design that come off a bit paint by numbers, but that could change as the game finds its footing and continues to grow. Designed to run on both the Quest, Quest 2, and PC headsets, Population 1 is a game that was clearly designed from the forefront to run well on lower powered hardware. Design choices like the snap and scope on sniper rifles, poor smoke effects, cherry-picked world textures, and a simplified lighting system all seem to have been design choices to cater to the lower powered headsets. And while yes, PC headsets do seem to have gotten the short end of the stick in some regards, the game running on max settings on a decent PC certainly isn't a bad looking game, with visual improvements in texture draw distance, lighting effects, and most notably, a nice boost to the in-game clarity with improved anti-aliasing effects, looking quite stunning when playing linked on the Quest 2's improved resolution display. The Quest 2 running the game natively does see some graphical enhancements over the OG Quest and seems to look like the mid-level of all 3 versions. Honestly, all 3 versions of Population 1 look really nice in the headset though, with the OG headset running this wide open online game seeming honestly quite remarkable. Of course, some concessions had to be made to get Population 1 running on the Quest, seen most noticeably with an increase in texture pop-in and a much harsher drop in texture detail when looking at objects from a distance. Other concessions are visible, but in reality you'll be having too much fun to even notice, as all versions visually deliver much the same experience and portray an unbelievable amount of scope and polish, with a look that, while visually simple in some regards, seems to have prioritized the right aspects, ensuring Population 1 never fails the gamer in the heat of battle, avoiding frame drops, texture flicker, or any real glitches that are often commonplace in VR titles outside of the biggest releases. Bottom line, across all 3 headsets, I found myself constantly in awe of what Big Box has visually pulled off here in Population 1, as they have delivered a genre-defining entry in VR that continually made all other VR Battle Royale titles positively antiquated in comparison. Sound is up next.
One, and then we'll do it. I'll tell you when to hit him.
Nah, it's good to keep them.
Hit one. All right, you want to move?
Yeah. You do that, right back.
Oh, why isn't it letting me mark it? Ooh.
Population 1 is a shooter, and as such it really has one job: make the guns sound exciting to play with and ensure that the player has enough directional input to know where they are being shot from. Okay, well, maybe that's two things, but thankfully Population 1 nails both. Going with a real-world approach to guns, Population 1 doesn't have reference-level effects going on here, but they are certainly good, with enough volume and detail to come off authentic and grounded, offering enough variation between the gun models to be identified by sound alone when in-game. 3D audio offers a nice mix here, which is an absolute must, as Population 1 isn't just a competitive shooter, but one in which prioritizes verticality as a combat tactic. Hence, shots are coming in from literally everywhere. Spatial audio is also used here to properly indicate when and where someone is running around your play area, making for some great team moments as we call out to each other locations and attackers circling our location. As a 3-player squad, game communication is the key to success. Thankfully, Population 1 handles that admirably as well, letting all players hear each other when running around the game's holding area, using vicinity-based chat similar to something like Rec Room, and then when entering the match, automatically prioritizing team chat to just you and your 2 squad members and removing any distance restrictions. The rest of the sound mix remains solid throughout with a definite minimalist approach, opting to limit environmental sounds and music, which makes sense given the competitive nature of the game. Like the visuals before it, Population 1 offers up a very polished and near-perfect sound mix, making it one of the better sound mixes in competitive VR shooters. And that brings us to gameplay. Developed over a 3.5-year time period, Population 1, when it first showed itself, seemed to me to be a massively ambitious title that would never properly materialize. Then Big Box went quiet. I think many thought the game was dead. But earlier in 2020, we heard rumblings of private playtests, NDAs, and a few people saying that the naysayers were wrong, and in fact, the game was awesome. Well, yep, the developer who had previously made Smashbox Arena, a cute little teleport-only version of Dodgeball, just leveled up and delivered what could very well be the most important title yet to hit the VR game scene. Population 1 starts with 6 squads of 3. Jumping in, you are randomly placed with 2 other players, unless you bring your own trio into party mode. Every player is given a portable jet pod to launch across the map in, or alternatively, they can simply choose to jump off the launch roof and use their personal wingsuit to glide to safety. After that, all the typical Battle Royale tropes apply as you and your team loot, arm up, and attempt to be the last squad standing, all while avoiding the randomly tightening perimeter. This premise has been, to various degrees of success, done to death, but what separates Population 1 from other Battle Royale games outside of being in VR is its intentional focus on freedom of movement and verticality. If you can touch it, you can climb it, making any wall, sign, or overhang fair game to get the height advantage over your competitors or to simply glide across to another part of the map. This level of movement could be a massive hassle in VR, but Big Box VR has spent an insane amount of time testing, fine-tuning, and polishing the world traversal mechanics, and it shows. Climbing is easy and forgiving, making the process as intuitive as loading a gun. Mechanics like pulling yourself onto platforms or traversing small barriers is often handled automatically or by simply grabbing and pulling, meaning I rarely found myself falling or stalling my movement because of janky VR movement issues. I do wish the game had a run and stamina mechanic though, as I sometimes found the single movement speed a bit slow. Flying is as easy as putting out your arms and using the analog sticks to turn, making the whole process easy and fun. A major component of Population 1's fantastic movement mechanics is the design choice to forego all body placement of items, including holsters and weapons, and instead opting to put them all onto a weapon wheel brought up by the push of a button, and item selection being a simple flick of the wrist. And while I dislike weapon wheels in fast combat situations, the freedom to climb and fly and move without the hassle of accidentally grabbing and dropping holstered items is an absolute necessity here. And while switching between free hands for climbing and holding a weapon is as easy as a button push, switching between guns in the heat of combat can still be a bit cumbersome, making me wish Big Box would allow players the ability to place a second primary on the back for a quick weapon change on the fly. Weapons are not surprisingly found randomly placed around the world and pull from 13 different real-world weapons, ranging from handguns, shotguns, and submachine guns to assault rifles and sniper rifles. Guns are found across different quality levels and color-coded as such, offering the chance for improved stats on a given weapon. Outside of this, guns are stock and are not moddable in the field. In fact, gun mechanics themselves have, for better or for worse, been streamlined to make gun handling as quick as possible, while still retaining a touch of realism. As such, mags are not ejected, dropped, and then manually replaced. Instead, a yellow mag indicator appears below the gun, requiring you to push a new mag in when it's empty, and then charging the gun, with reloading a half-empty mag as easy as just a push of a button. This certainly makes the game much more of an arcade experience, but it works here in conjunction with the game's other mechanics. Guns themselves feel good and satisfying to fire and appear to be well balanced. Other consumables out in the world include pop and bananas for healing, as well as different sized shield batteries to fill your personal shield level, all of which are often critical to success. In addition, players can find grenades, currently the game's only explosive, and resource pickups, used to fuel the game's building mechanic. I hated Fortnite, and a major contributor to this was the building mechanic that saw players often quickly building behind them to block your attacks, a combat strategy that drove me crazy. Thankfully, that is not how Population 1 feels, opting to keep resource pickups limited and requiring the building mechanic to be a little more intentional and front-facing. The result is a build mechanic that is often used more for quick cover in a firefight and an elevated attack point or a way to bridge gaps. Building is as simple as pulling the trigger and pointing at the ground and placing a wall, with floors simply being placed with a tip of the wrist. Walls will stay in place for the entire game but can be destroyed by gunfire. Another aspect I disliked about traditional battle royales was the one and done nature of them, making an untimely death a chore to start the process all over again, or simply following your team around as a spectator while they continued to play. Population 1 mostly remedies this by giving squad members the ability to bring their dead teammates back to life by charging up and administering shock panels. These aren't super quick to charge up either, so strategy is required here, ensuring the healing mechanic doesn't break the game. Dead players can continue to move throughout the level but are invisible to enemy combatants, and can call out plays to surviving teammates while attempting to maneuver to a safe resurrection place. I felt that this whole life after death mechanic was a breath of fresh air into this genre, and not only gave players a chance to get back into it, but added another level of strategy, while simultaneously fostering teamwork. And really, teamwork and friendships built on the battlefield is what kept me coming back round after round in Population 1. I love the squad mechanic and made playing solo a much less lonely and intimidating experience, and really became necessary for survival. In fact, the game's matchmaking system is built around finding players you enjoyed playing with and then friending up in game, making the whole process simple and fun. Some may question the game's replayability though, based on another battle royale trope of launching with only one map. At only 1 square kilometer in size, Population's 1 map is certainly not massive, but its size suits the player count perfectly and is still plenty large enough to go long enough without running into other squads, yet never big enough to get slow. Map fatigue is also helped significantly by some smart map design that sees the map made up of an assortment of smaller areas that could easily be their own maps in a traditional PvP shooter. Remind me of Call of Duty's Battle Royale Blackout map design. Personally, I still wish there was at least a second map, but as is the case with more popular Battle Royale games, Black Box has stated that they will change the map up over time, even opening up the central tower at a future point. Population 1 requires the use of 2 motion controllers. I did test the game with a gun stock, and while it greatly improved my gun game, it was a lot to deal with since the game requires so much two-handed movement, so it's definitely something I'll have to work on. Of course, in a game with such a focus on movement, VR sickness is bound to be a problem for some. And while this game is certainly aimed at a VR crowd less bothered by this, there is an assortment of comfort options available. But know this going in, this is still a full locomotion title, and as such, you won't find the ability to teleport here. Finally, Population 1 can be played seated, but standing is highly recommended, as is the ability to move freely in a 360-degree play space with an adequate amount of room. As such, the Quest and Quest 2 with its wireless capabilities benefit greatly here. And finally, that brings us to fun factor in my final review. Population 1 blew my mind, not only for its sharp open world visuals or its ability to run well on lower end hardware, but because the whole game from top to bottom across visuals, sound, and gameplay is so polished, refined, and most importantly, incredibly fun and replayable. Big Box has demonstrated why extensive playtesting and ample development time matters. The end result is a VR industry game changer that accomplishes what few titles have, in that I think they have created a game that will not only meet but exceed many flat gamers' expectations of where they think VR should be to be of interest to them. As you know, I hate numbered review scores and instead review games on the basis of buy it, burn it, or wait on it, as well as a few details on who this might appeal to more. Of course, this game is going to appeal most to shooter fans and especially those who prefer online competition. For those, this is a total no-brainer, as this is one of the best in VR and likely to suck a lot of the player bases from those other competitive VR shooters. And as an admittedly non-social gamer, I totally get the disinterest some of you have in online games, and as this has absolutely zero single-player content, this may not be for you. But my experience in this game has been a lot of fun, just teaming up with randos, as it is a game that really fosters communication and in fact frowns on those who would prefer to play with their mics off. At $30, I think this is priced perfectly for a single map battle royale shooter that is planned to be a long-term game, with free updates being funded by paid cosmetic options in-game. Honestly, this doesn't bother me at all, because this likely means your future gameplay enjoyment will be funded by 11-year-olds with their parents' credit card who need pink gun skins. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Thanks for stopping by. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more VR content from me, you guys know the deal. Please consider subscribing, and for video updates, hit that bell icon. As always, I'll catch you on my next video.